Welcome to 30 Flirty and Panicking, your go-to podcast for embracing the unexpected and building a life you love. I'm Kelsey. I'm so excited to be back after an incredible and honestly impactful winter break. It was amazing. And I can't think of a better conversation to kick things off with than with Ashlee Glazer, who we're going to sit down with today. She is a celebrity makeup artist who's had a wildly impressive career, but also has a very powerful personal story. And we talk about ambition and love and timelines, and what it actually looks like to make room for the life you want when your world already feels very full, which I know is something a lot of us experience. And her journey is really a great reminder that life doesn't unfold on a perfect timeline, but often if you let it, what happens can actually be even better than what you imagined. So if you've ever caught yourself questioning your timing or looking at the metaphorical clock or wondering if as a woman you actually can have it all, I want you to bookmark this episode because we're going to get into all of it. And it serves as the ultimate reminder that you're not behind, you are right on time, your time is yours, and life can change in an instant when you least expect it for the better. So let's get into it. Ashlee Glazer, I'm so excited to have you on 30 Flirty and Panicking. I feel like your story in particular really aligns with all of the core themes that we come up against on this podcast, like building a career, balance, kind of thoughts surrounding timeline and building a family and whether or not we really can have it all. So I'm so excited to get into everything about your journey here in this space. And I feel like I'd be remiss not to start off with your unbelievable career as a celebrity makeup artist. This is similar for both of us. We kind of poured ourselves into our careers in adult life. So I would love to let you just talk a bit about your path to becoming such a sought after celebrity makeup artist, and we can go from there.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and share my story with everyone. And yeah, I mean, we met at the Today Show, which is for me the height of being a makeup artist and somewhere I've always aspired to get to. So I can't even believe I got there. And it all started like really at home, like doing makeup at home on my friends when I was in high school and just like telling everyone I ever met that I wanted to be a celebrity makeup artist and I wanted to go on TV and I wanted to be in the back of a limo at the Oscars. Like when people would ask me like what I wanted to do with my career when I was in makeup school, that's what I said. And I remember them being like, that's such a specific vision. And like, I didn't know what manifesting was at the time. I was like 20 years old, but I've always tried to network in a way where I just told everybody what I wanted to do. Like I started doing makeup at home, locally for girls who when I was a freshman in high school, the senior girls, when they started getting married, I was like 20, 21, they were like 24, 25, they all started getting married. They knew that I was doing makeup and I started doing makeup for them. And I was like, oh, wow, this is so cool. Like I remember she had smoky eyes in the hallway. Now I'm doing her makeup for her wedding. And they were like my first celebrity, clients, like the popular girls in school whose makeup I got to do. And then for my bridal career, they started telling their friends who they went to college with, and then their college friends told their friends who they went to high school with, and then who they went to school with. And it sort of really just kind of blew up like word of mouth doing bridal. And I worked retail and for MAC, and I climbed every ladder in MAC that you could to, get to the best location, which for me was MAC Flatiron, which sadly is now closed. But that was a revolving door of really interesting women getting their makeup done with careers that I'd always admired. I had clients who were agents at CAA. I had publicists. I had, real estate brokers. I had fashion designers. And that's how I got introduced to a different level of client who was like the working, successful businesswoman in New York. And I really kind of honed in on her. And I just started getting booked. I started putting my phone number in people's bags and I would do their weddings. And then they had friends in their bridal party who worked in fashion or worked with celebrities. And, one day I got a phone call like, oh, hey, so-and-so, I need a fill-in and for a celebrity fashion designer. And then I just became their regular person. And a girl that I had matched a lipstick for in MAC who went to college with a girl who went to college. It was like all, the geography, we call it like Jewish geography, in Long Island.
Yes.
But as somebody knew somebody, she knew Amy Rosenblum, a media manager. And then that's how I ended up getting on the Today Show, just from matching a pink lipstick for somebody at the MAC counter.
How crazy is that?
So It's really all been word of mouth and so crazy and so fun, but I was 110% work 24 hours a day with, you know, little bits and pieces for other things, but I really kind of focused and I live, sleep, eat, breathe. That's the saying? My career.
What did that decade of your life or that chapter of your life when you were really starting to get your footing in the beauty space look like?
It looked like a giant makeup kit exploded all over my apartment. I was living out of multiple suitcases. I would come home from jobs and I'm a visual person. So physically, like, this is what it actually looked like. Like, I would come home from a job, I'd unpack my suitcase, I'd take the clean stuff, put it in another suitcase, and then I would like go leave again. I was never home, but like I loved it. And there was one point in my career where I was a backup guest on QVC for Laura Geller Cosmetics, and that was when they were still filming the 24-hour day at QVC, which I heard now they don't do anymore. So I would drive to Pennsylvania like 2 or 3 times a week, and then I would be on the Today Show or the Wendy Williams show. Other days of the week, I'd come back to the city. I would do celebrities, trials for weddings, and then I would have a wedding on the weekends. And then I would try and like go on a date. I would try and like go to dinner with my friends, and I was just completely like exhausted, but like just running on pure adrenaline and running on the high, kind of just knowing like I wanted this, like I'm living it, I'm loving it, but then also feeling like knowing deep in my mind it's not going to be like this forever, so I'm going to just take it. I'm going to take it all, take it all as much on my plate as I can possibly have, and figure it out like one day. That was like what it looked like. I don't know if that's a good answer, but I had
No.
no like foresight, no future plan. It was just like this is all happening right now and I'm in it, and I have to grab all these opportunities because, one day I won't be the hot, cool makeup artist, but and these are all coming to me, and this is what I asked for. So I'm gonna give it my all and try and give everybody a little bit, of me, which was amazing for my career. But I realized that then there wasn't really much of me left for me or for anybody else, because whatever relationships I had tried to be in, did not work.
But you knew you wanted to be in the beauty space, early on. Did you also feel like it was important to you to find your life partner and to have a family? Were those things that you kind of always grew up thinking you would have as well?
Yes, I definitely always wanted to have a family. I always wanted to have a house and a husband and kids and a dog. And I wanted that, whole picture perfect movie rom-com life that we're fed, as kids. And I worked in the bridal space for 20 years. That's really the core of my business, is in addition to celebrities, but is weddings. So
Yeah.
I made a business on love and, watching people fall in love. And I know the wedding day is, the prime day. And I've definitely seen some dark wedding days and weddings where I'm like, these people should not be getting married, you know, or, but it's everybody on their best behavior. And I would go do trials and I'd be like, I want this life. I want this, love. I want this partnership. But I've always been around weddings. So
Yeah.
as a single person, especially as I got older, I've had relationships in the past, but you're like, when is it going to be my turn? Or when am I going to have this? Or this is so fun and glamorous. And then I would feel like that scene in The Wedding Planner when JLo goes home and eats Chinese food on the floor by herself. Like, that was me. I was living this glamorous circular, carousel of a ride life. And then I'd go home and I'd be all by myself. So
How did you grapple with that? Like, did you feel stressed out at that time about, I know I want that, but because I'm pouring so much of myself into my career right now, I can't pour into that space? Or were you kind of one of those people who took the mentality and the approach of that will happen when it happens?
I definitely the second part. That will happen when it happens. But I was always open to dating. I mean, I've been set up with like every groomsman, every brother of the bride, the cousin, and people would give my phone number without me even asking, because I used to be like, sure, I'll go out with them. Sure. Oh yeah, okay. I was like the chatty, pretty cute makeup artist who was single, and people love to match make, especially at a wedding. So I
Yes.
was always really open minded to it. And I always thought, I read my son that book, Are You My Mother? out there all the time. And I was kind of like, are you my husband? Are you going to be my husband? Like every time I'd go on a date, is this finally going to be it? When is it going to happen? It was always at the forefront of my mind in like just as important as my career, but I wasn't going out on dates like with that intention, but if it came to me, I'm like, "Oh, I got to go out on with this person." Or, I love love. Like I was always really open to it, and I had a couple of long-term relationships that didn't work out, and I was like, "Well, I was heartbroken, but I'm like, okay, but that's not meant for me." And I'd go on a date like, rebounded really fast, or I was never really one to take a big pause until sort of really the pandemic happened, actually. So that forced everyone to pause.
I like joke that I don't count those years. So my age is actually like everything that didn't happen. When you were dating, did you like dating? Did you find dating fun? Did you experience dating burnout? What did dating look like for Ashlee Glazer before the happy ending that I cannot wait to get into?
I actually like hated dating. I never went on the apps. I would go on the apps and I would like sign up for them and then I would delete them because I would get anxiety about it. I really enjoyed blind dates. I've been set up on a lot of blind dates because then it's kind of like live television. Like you just have to go with it. You don't have too much preparation. You don't do too much research. You're just sort of thrown into it and you just see what happens. But I did not like it. I always thought like love would just fall into my lap and everything was going to be, hunky dory. I
Yes.
didn't want to actually like try hard to do it because I felt like was so forced. But I know you have to put yourself out there. And, I'd go on dates. I had a friend who was really like really all about dating. And she and I would have this conversation all the time when we were single. Like, I'm like, but you're going on like 3 or 4 dates a week. Like, how do you keep track? Like, I can't keep track. I have too many clients. Like, I already have too many schedules that I need to keep track of my time and my energy. Like, I can't do this. I was like a serial monogamous dater where I'd go on one date with someone. And I'd be like, okay, I'm dating them. And then they'd be like,
Right.
no, you're not. Like, you went on one date. Like,
Right.
you're not dating them. Like, I couldn't do the juggle of dating, and I would just be like, "Okay, well, if that didn't work, then somebody else will come along or I'll meet somebody in a random way." I was not very good at being like really meticulous and sticking to like I got to do this because like process of elimination. I guess
Yeah.
I didn't do it like that. But I've had some really fun and like random dates. I got set up with I remember a matchmaker had chatted with my dad's girlfriend at she works in Chanel and they started chatting and my dad's girlfriend had showed her my picture once and they called me and said, "You want to be set up with this matchmaker?" And I was like, "Sure." Like, why not? Like, I'm
Yeah.
game. I went to a fabulous dinner and I never saw the person again. And I was like, oh, well, I got to go to Danielle, that was cool. So,
Yeah.
I was game. Like, I was always game for anything, but I didn't make it too much of a priority, if that makes sense.
It totally makes
Y-
sense, and I, like, joke that I expect that my husband's gonna break into my apartment and find me here. Like, I
Hey,
I
he
know it's
might. He
important
might.
to me, I know I want that, but life is so full and so busy, I do struggle very much with making dating a priority. I
A
think also,
priority.
obviously, I, like, took a decent break, so there's, like, "Alright, we gotta jump back in, we gotta get back on the horse." But I think that that's interesting to hear from you.
I think it's also like your mindset. Like, even if you're not like open or want to be like, all right, I got to go on these dates, or like just being open, like, just like, unzipping that armor. And when you go out to a bar or you go out to the grocery or you go on a run, like, getting out of this and looking up and,
Yes.
you can make eye contact with someone or you can be reconnected with someone or you just never know where those connections are going to happen. And I think being open is just as important as saying like, okay, I'm going to start dating again. Or you can just say, I'm going to be open to it
Yes, I
and
love that,
open to
Ashley.
meeting somebody, open to a connection because it could happen anywhere. It can happen like just like that. And then that's it. Your whole life has changed and you didn't even, put your, your special outfit on. You didn't even have a manicure that day.
I love that so much, and I do think in this chapter for me, I've gotten a lot more comfortable going places alone. I think that's not really something I ever did, and then there was so much I loved to do when I did have a significant other, and then in the aftermath of that, you're like, "Wait, I don't wanna lose all of that, so I need to get comfortable being a little
Being alone.
uncomfortable and, like, spending time with me," and I will say, I've met so many interesting people this year, whether they've pursued me romantically or just to know or to meet once and never speak again. It's been very
Yeah.
cool. So I think that framework and that mindset. Being open is really,
Being open and
you
being
know,
alone. I mean, the best relationship you're ever going to have is with yourself. And
mhm.
being a celebrity makeup artist, I traveled a lot by myself. I'd be paired up with my hairstylist friends every now and then, working in bridal, I would get flown to these destinations in these amazing cities for work. And
Yeah.
what are you going to do? Order room service? Like, no, I'm going to go out, and I would
Yes.
go sit at bars and go sit at go to museums and go try and get as much culture of wherever I was in. And I was normally by myself. And during those years at the height of my career for travel, I was single.
Yeah.
So I had a boyfriend like when I turned 30, and I broke up with him at 31. And I was like, oh my gosh. And then I was single for like 5.5 years, and I was really traveling a lot for work. And I was like, you know what, this is awesome because I'm in this great space. I can go do all these things. I'm making money, and I'm like going to fall in love with myself and have this relationship and this confidence with myself, which of course it wasn't like always, perfect. There'd be a
Yeah.
lot of times where I'd go home and cry, but
Yeah.
or like, why did this happen? Or, I'm feeling sorry for myself. Like I'm at this wedding in this beautiful city, and like, why am I all alone here? But would really just always try and just make the best of it and, have fun, like have a good time and meet people and be open to it, especially when you're traveling.
Yeah, totally. You don't want to miss out on life experiences that are
Exactly.
there for you. And it's like more fun in certain ways to do certain things by yourself too. So I do think it's framework and
It
mentality to
it
your
is. It's
point.
definitely fun to do things by yourself because then you don't have to ask anybody if they feel like doing that, or you
Yeah.
want to stay for 10 minutes or an hour, you can do that.
Yeah.
I always found the eating out alone though hard because I like to order so many things, and then when you're like alone, I'm like, okay, that's a waste of food. So, okay, I can only order like 2 things
It's so
because
true.
I don't have anyone to share it with.
It's like the biggest relationship perk is that you can split
You share food.
things. Yeah, totally. It sounds like being open was a common theme for you. And I feel like that likely served you well. You probably learned so much about what worked and what didn't work and what, you know, was important to you and what wasn't. And correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't until you turned 35 that you really reconnected with your now husband.
Yes. So
Okay.
I reconnected with my now husband during the pandemic. And, during the pandemic, I realized how much I really wanted and craved that partnership and that significant other and that family aspect in my life. And it really put my career goals into perspective during the pandemic because I was single and I was not, I'm a makeup artist. So nobody wanted to be touched to go to an event, which is basically I touch people to go places, and
Yeah.
that was not happening. Something like that I did during the pandemic, which it's going to sound so absolutely nuts, but I think it really changed the path for me, and I'm a big believer in manifesting and creating, that visual in your mind. Have you ever seen that movie Rear Window?
No.
It's Alfred Hitchcock and Grace Kelly. It's a really great movie, but it's a great film. Jimmy Stewart and Grace Kelly. It takes place in New York. But there's this character in the movie and that they see, and she's setting a place for someone at her table and she's alone. So during COVID, I would, obviously cook. I made dinners. Or I tried to cook anyway. I wasn't very good at it at the time, but I used to set the table for two.
I love
And
that.
even though I was alone, because I wanted to invite love into my life.
I've never
And
thought of that.
And I had only one nightstand at the time, so I got 2. And I got another lamp, and I set up my bedroom for a partner. And I know it sounds so wild, but, like, I used to pretend. I mean, I wouldn't, like, talk to an invisible person, but, I would pretend I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And I really craved that symmetry in my life, like that partner.
People tell you to romanticize your life and all different things. I had never thought about making my actual reality look like what I hope it one day will. I love hearing that from you.
Like, actually romanticize it and have a romantic dinner for 1.5 at your own table.
Oh, I love this. Okay, but it happened to be in that chapter really on the other side, right, of the pandemic that you
Yes.
reconnected with somebody.
Yeah.
Ironically, after dating and seeking people out, your husband had actually been in the picture. Can you set up this story? I love it so much.
Yeah, oh, thank you. It is a good one. So during the pandemic, my friend and I, the one who recommended Rear Window, we used to watch movies together, every night, be like, okay, let's watch this and hit play at the same time. He was like, I'm going on this trip with a couple of friends from high school. He and I had gone to known each other since elementary school. And I was like, "Oh, okay, like, where are you going?" They're driving to Tennessee. I'm like, "I gotta get out of New York. Can I come? I'm coming." Like, Google hiking. Like, I don't even know. The only time I went hiking was like, in Malibu, like at like the Getty Museum. Like that was it. So that's my only time hiking. Wait, what's that hike called? What's the one in Beverly Hills? The
No, Runyon Canyon?
Runyon Canyon. That's the
Yeah.
only time I've ever hiked was in Runyon Canyon. So I didn't know much, but yeah, so I was like, "Who's going on the trip?" And he said the name of my now husband, and I was like, "Oh," and so my husband and I were boyfriend and girlfriend in the 7th grade. He was like my first like, make out when we were in middle school. Now I feel like now that I'm a mom, like that's too young for kissing. But we, so he was going on the trip and I was like, "Oh, how's he doing? Is he single?" Like, just questions you ask. And he was like, "Oh, he just broke up with somebody." And, because as a single person going on a trip, you're always like, who's the other single person in the house? Like,
Yeah,
that's
right.
always the first thing that you're thinking. Who could I possibly have a spark with? It's like,
Yep.
no matter what position you're in, you're like, always thinking that. So we drove down and my now husband, we got out of the car, we got there, we started hanging out, all the people were already in the house. And just like, I don't know, he had said something and we were talking, and I literally felt like this light of electricity go through me. And he and I ended up staying up till like 4 a.m., just talking on a bench. And just all the 20 years had gone by since we'd last seen each other. And I was like, there's something here. And that was really it. That we lived in 2 different cities. We had 2 totally different lives. But the next weekend he came to visit me in New York, and then he came again and again. And then I went to visit him in Ohio. And then, 2 years later we got married. And then 2 years after that, and then we have 2 kids. And I now live in Ohio, and I'm not a celebrity makeup artist running around. I'm on hiatus, I like to call it. And it was just this random last minute invitation to Tennessee, of all places.
That made it all happen.
Like, with my 7th grade boyfriend I haven't seen in 20 years. Like, we hung out in high school, but we weren't friends. Like, we didn't have, like, the same circle.
So, what do you think it was now looking back that made this different? What set this apart and made you be like, "Oh, this is actually the person I'm going to marry?"
I think that I just felt really safe being myself.
Yeah.
I was always kind of trying to be somebody else and just always afraid. Even if like, oh, my eyebrows weren't on, or my toes get red when I'm hot, they're not gonna like me. Like, or just stupid things, like dumb little things that I would care so much about. I felt really safe to be who I am, and who I am, who I was, who I wanna be. And maybe it was the time alone in the pandemic that allowed me to really reflect on myself and what it was I really wanted. Um but, we met in such a weird time where I was like, this kind of like isn't my real life. My real life is something totally different. And I did have this fear, like, what if when we go back to work or go back to normal, what if he doesn't like me? What if he doesn't like
Mhm.
that person anymore? Or what if I don't like that person? I don't know. It was like the great unknown, but it worked out. And, you know, the, I don't, I, I just feel like I think the word safe. I felt safe to be myself, and that is what made me feel like he'll be a great dad. He's just a great human. And it was just a different level of comfort. I don't know if it's because we knew each other since we were kids, but when you meet someone when you're kind of awkward and 13, when you meet them at 35, you're like, well, I can't be more awkward than I was at
So
13.
true.
So, it took that away. We already knew each other's families, and we knew each other's, we didn't know each other's friends really, but the one mutual friend that reintroduced us is our core best friend still, and he ended up marrying us, which was really special. So I think that safe sense of home, he just felt like home, just felt comfortable.
Would that be kind of your key takeaway or your key piece of advice to the women who are out there dating right now is to show up as authentically you? It
Show up
will.
as you, show up as you, because one of my guy friends used to always say, scare as many people away as possible, because the real you is going to eventually come out anyway. So you may as well just let it be in the beginning.
I love that so much. I haven't heard that one either.
It's such a good one. My friend Adam, that was his quote, and he's been with his wife for like they've been together for like 20 years. But it's funny because I'm like, you haven't even dated that many people. You guys have been together. Maybe they've been whatever. They've been together a long time, but I always like that because it's so true. And I was always trying to be somebody else.
Yeah,
Never comfortable in my own skin. Always wanted to just, melt into their life or fit into their life and be the person that they want or be the person I think that they want to be and never just really be myself. And I think that once I finally let all that go, that's when I met my person.
I love that. I feel like
And
we talk about the common desire to be chosen, and sometimes you don't
yeah,
need to catch yourself that you're showing up as a version that you think they're going to want, but that's actually not the recipe for success.
no.
On
Yeah.
your Substack, you wrote about obviously you have this full career, you're busy, and you talk about how you needed to make room for this love and
Yeah.
for this relationship. And you just referenced that you ended up moving to Ohio, right? Like you make sacrifices for the things that are important to you. How did you navigate that change?
Oh man, I don't even know that. I don't even have a good answer. I know I had this life epiphany that I talked about on my Substack when I was in Pompeii and just was like, what is life really about? When it's
Mhm,
the end of your life, what are you thinking about?
mhm.
And I was like, it's family and it's love. And it's, you can still have a very full life without children if that's, and a great career and a great life. But that's something that was really important to me. And
Yeah.
I was like, I have to make this change. And I just dove in head first. I did not think about it. I was almost like I tried to almost, like, not think about it, because if I thought about it, I would have maybe hesitated.
Yeah.
It's like it's like doing a wing eyeliner, you just gotta put it on. If your hand is wiggling, like, it's not gonna come out good. You just gotta commit to the line, and
Yeah.
I was like, "I'm committing to this," and the worst case scenario is I move home and it doesn't work out, and I have all my friends and my career and everybody, but if it does work out, then, like, how lucky am I? And I tried to reframe my brain and say, like, because of course there was hard times and there still are. And, instead of using things, oh, I gave up this life for
Mhm.
you or to have this, it was like, look what I'm getting. Look
Yeah.
what I'm getting from this, like I get the opportunity to have this second chance at life or the second chapter in life, that is a stay-at-home mom in the suburbs of the Midwest when I was a career girl running around, on television, going to fabulous dinners every night and, just running around New York and doing whatever I was doing. And now I'm, in my sweats and leggings and workout clothes, making new friends who had no idea that's who I was.
Yeah.
It's a totally like one full 180 on the life I was living prior. And there's no navigation, no book that told me what to do. I just was like, I'm just gonna try it. I'm just gonna try it and see what happens. And because, like, I love this person, and the alternate option was not being together because their life didn't allow really them to move to New York. So I was like, let's just like it's either this or breaking up, and I don't want to do that. So
Yeah, it's worth it.
yeah,
Speaking of the things you've gained, you now have 2 under 2. You are quite a busy mom. You literally just had a baby Labor Day weekend. I'm in awe of you that you're here with a 7-week-old. But I think something that we hear a lot from women is that after having babies, especially career women, there can feel like a sense of loss in a way, like a loss of identity, or obviously you've got this massive purpose that's just entered the picture, but a loss of other purpose.
yes.
Has that been your experience at all? And I guess how do you navigate making room for things that you're passionate about while still being the amazing stay-at-home mom that you
Oh,
are?
I definitely struggled with grief of my former self 100%, and I didn't know that that was something that to expect after having a baby. But I think having a baby, moving to a new city, being newly married in a new house with no furniture and no family, no friends, no work was really all a lot at once. And I definitely struggled with some postpartum, and I'm still struggling with my identity of who am I, what was I doing, what am I going to do, but also, trying really hard to keep that positive, frame of mind of like, it's okay, just be in it, just be in this moment. This is only it's going to last for, the newborn phase is really hard, and then doing it again immediately after is definitely challenging. But
Yeah.
yeah, because my career was so important to me, and I gave so much to so many people, and I feel like now that I kind of left that world, like I think about it sometimes as like a carousel. I got off the ride, but it's still going, and watching the world, especially through social media. Social media could be great and it could be really toxic. Seeing everything I was doing now all my friends are doing, or you pass off clients, you pass off opportunities, and everyone's just still going, and it's like, oh, maybe I wasn't that important in that world, or maybe I shouldn't have cared as much about it as I did, but then I wouldn't have been as successful if I cared less, I think. My friend tells me that, she's like, but you would never have made it as far as you did if you didn't care. So it doesn't go, it goes hand in hand. You have to give it all. You have to care. You have to put it first. And then when I was ready to put it second, this literally this person sleeping on me, they were ready for me. And I think that's how I like to think about it. And now I pour my creative outlets, into decorating my home and cooking and talking about makeup still with friends. And now I'm like, okay, I have my second baby. So I'm like, what's it going to look like for me in 5 years? Like, what will I go back to doing what I was doing? Or, maybe I'll start a little makeup club here, a little makeup club dinner party to like introduce my new skills of hosting and my makeup skills, because there's so many moms here who are also in the same boat. Maybe they weren't celebrity makeup artists, but they had big jobs and they were career women. And I've met a lot of really interesting people. I feel like don't put the mom in her leggings and sneakers. Like, don't underestimate what she could do and what she has done, because there's a lot of powerhouses in my little circle that I've made here. And I'm like, wow, like, I wonder what we could all do together. Or like, it's just been so interesting to learn that I'm not alone, and that my experience isn't just mine, that other people have had this or had to make this choice, or I feel like it's really taught me to be more open-minded, if that, possible, or just say like, okay, like, well, this is cool. Like, I get to think, what is the next 5 years, when I thought I was living in this kind of hamster wheel of never having foresight. Now I'm like, whoa, what do I want to do? Or who am I? Who am I? Because now I'm this whole new person. Like, the other person, she's in there, but she's gone. Like, those things are not there anymore that I prioritize so much. And now it's time to like, kind of make a new checklist of what's important and what it is that I want to do. But it's definitely hard, and I would be totally lying and not helping anybody listening or watching and say, "Oh my god, like no problem, it's so easy." Like, it's not, but you have to want it. And building a career is not easy either.
Yeah.
It takes grit, and you got to really hustle at it. If you want to be at the top of whatever it is that you are, you have to want it more than you want anything else, and you got to work harder than the next guy. So
Yeah.
I think that comes to family life too.
I love that your story is kind of proof that you can have completely different chapters. And I love that now you get to think about what the next one might look like. And it might be, your career chapter is totally different than the stay at home mom in Ohio chapter. And the next one could be totally different too. And you get to decide what's next for Ashlee Glazer.
Yes, I do. So yeah, it'll be fun. I'm excited. I've always liked the unknown. It keeps it more, keeps it fresh.
And you're alone on that one in this conversation. I'm like, what exactly is happening at 12:52?
Yeah. I like to live on the wild side.
I know, I need to embrace a little bit of that energy, I think. I wanna ask you, I think you just referenced social media. It's so easy to look to the left or right of you and be made to feel like you're falling behind. I grew up thinking at 30 I'd probably be married, and then at 30 I was planning to be, and things just don't always pan out exactly as you once thought. And I want to ask you, for the 34-year-old out there who feels like love might be hopeless, or like the family might not come in time, or that she's not going to be able to have everything that she wants, what words of wisdom would you have for her?
I would tell her, oh, so many things. I'm gonna like start crying. I would tell her, like, just like love yourself, fall in love with yourself, and like life will fall back in love with you.
Yeah, I love
And
that
like, I'm
advice.
getting so emotional because like there's been like whatever's meant for you will be there for you when it's time. I
Yeah.
think timing. I think that we put so much pressure on ourselves about the right time. but when it's right for you, like, it'll come. And, like, just, like, don't worry so much and just enjoy the season that you're in, as, like, shitty as it even if it's a shitstorm season, like, and you need your raincoat every day, like, that's okay, get a cute raincoat, you're gonna make it through.
I love that. I wanna, like, put that on a T-shirt.
We can make umbrellas.
Yes, me too. I love that line, and not for nothing, you're living proof of that, so thank you for sharing your story here today
Oh,
because
thank you, and I'm so postpartum, so I'm crying, you guys, but
oh, I'm trust me, I'm, like, right there with you. As the 32-year-old on the receiving end who knows that all of these things are meant to happen, but doesn't really know how it's going to happen, I appreciate hearing that so much. For everyone who's listening, whether they're 20 or 30 or 40 or 60 or 80, what do you hope that they take away from our conversation and from you sharing your story?
I hope you take away that love is around the corner when you're not looking for it. It is looking for you, and just like don't put down like the random person who you never thought you'd see again. Like don't put on a pedestal like what you think it's supposed to look like, because it's going to look totally different when it comes. That is my experience. I never if you told me when I was 32 sitting at a bar alone crying, cuz some guy ghosted me,
Yeah.
that my life was going to look like this at 40, I would have laughed. I would have said there's no way. There's no way.
And
There's
look
no
at you.
way. And then now look, and I'm so happy, you
I love
know.
this. Oh, it
It's
makes me so happy. Ashley, I could not possibly let you go without asking for some trade secrets. If you were to pick 3 items that have to be in your beauty bag at all times, what would those 3 items be?
Okay, they would be definitely bronzer, liquid bronzer, or a darker foundation like than yourself that's liquid and sheer, because it gives you luminosity and warmth at the same time. Brow pencil, because I don't go anywhere even to sleep without like filling in my brows. Like I just have to have them on. And like an illuminator of some kind. I love to be glowy, like a blushy illuminator highlight. I always love to have a shiny nose, and of course, mascara. You can do a lot with mascara, even if you don't have eyeliner. You can put it on with a brush. But top 3 would be a liquid bronzer, brows, and an illuminator.
I love it. We'll drop your favorites. We'll drop your picks in the show notes for anybody who wants to check them out. Ashley, I'm so grateful for your time. I know you quite literally have your hands full as we sit here with the most adorable
Oh,
child.
there's a baby on my lap.
Yeah. Thank you so much
Th-
for making the time to do this. It
Thank
really
you
means
so
so much.
much. Thank you so much, and I hope you guys all enjoy this. I'm Ashlee Glazer, and I hope listeners feel 30, flirty, and adventurous.